Go ahead. You guys, thank you again for being here and being part of the virtual series. This is actually our third month of virtual series, and here at Abbott Athletics, or the MA14 brand, we are trying to promote softball education, softball experiences and events, and obviously just spread the knowledge of the game that I loved so much and has done so much for me. I had the opportunity to play at every level, and I pretty much experienced everything at one point: failures, successes, happy moments, devastating moments, all of the things. And I just know in my heart, and I feel it's laid on my heart, that it's just time for me to share more of the things that I went through for all of you out there, and more of the things that made me successful. What were like kind of my keys, right? Why was I able to throw 77, or why was I consistent on it on a regular basis? So things like that. We do have 2 other recordings already available. One is on speed development. The other one is on pitch calling. And next month, this one is on mental game strategies. And then next month is going to be on pitchers practice plans. So if you're ever wondering how to figure out how to practice, when to practice, how much you should be practicing, that is what we'll be going over next week. So just a wealth of knowledge. Again, my goal for this year is to continue to do different topics throughout the year, once a month, 30 to 45-minute sessions with an opportunity for Q&A on each session. All of these virtual, everything in the virtual library will be available for the recording. And I think that'll do for all the intro stuff. Okay, let me get started here. Mental game strategy. I'm just going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Oh, wrong window. Okay, here we are. So mental game strategies. This is the class that you all signed up for. You guys ready to get started? Let's do it. Okay. All right. So I wanted to just start with like I said, a little bit of an introduction and a little bit about just a little personal story time about me. First off, I would say that, I don't know if I really took or knew what the mental game was about until I really got to college. I knew that it was affecting me in high school at times, or even when I was younger, because I would cry sometimes, or just be like really mad, and I'd walk really fast if I was like failed or like experienced something bad. Or I struggled with the umpire when I was, in high school or middle school. I started to feel those things. So I knew there was something going on, but I didn't really understand the aspect of what a mental game was, or what mental game strategy was. So last year, I think many of you know, I did write a book of just about my life story. And it talks a lot about some of those struggles within the sport and the successes that I've had. But I also wrote like a complimentary workbook with it, and it's called Abbott's A-List. And this is just like a little preview of it. But we're not going over this tonight. But if you're a kid, or your team or someone is looking for something that has something that can walk you through it, right? Walk you through some of the mental stuff, walk you through some of the goal setting. We're not going to go over goal setting tonight, but that's part of the mental game, right? That's part of the things that keep you motivated, right? Motivation is something that doesn't come naturally. You need to work at it daily. Okay. It walks you through the goals. And when we're how to set up goals, it walks you through remembering to have fun, because a lot of times when our mental game goes bad, all of a sudden our focus gets narrow, and then we're not having any fun anymore, right? So then it's a game. We're supposed to have fun when we play. And it also talks about, different things, even like a routine, how to create a routine for different things, which that we are going to go over tonight. So this is a pretty cool little book. It's a little side thing. Just wanted to mention that to you all for tonight. It is available on my website if you guys would like, or are interested in it. But it's just kind of a nice little workbook. I never had one when I was young to just go over some of those strategies. But so then of course I was like, well, why don't I just create one, right? So I made that for you all. But you guys, seriously, the mental game is something that it's something that you don't think about practicing, right? It's something that you don't think about, hey, like this is important until after the fact, until after the, oh no, this thing happened. Okay. You don't think about how I can practice or how I can work on my mental game until you had the oh no moment, the oh dang it, that happened. Okay. And then at that point, it's a little bit late, right? So I've had plenty of those oh no moments and those moments where that just you feel your emotions. So let's get into it and let's talk about this. Okay. So troubleshooting. Let's just go over some of the things and characteristics that can happen in the mental game. Okay. These are different things that you may have experienced or things that I've experienced all of these. Okay. And these are things that maybe you have experienced too, and that sometimes we have to deal with on the softball field. So number one is I would call spiraling. Spiraling is what we say is like you spiral downward. Okay. And this happens oftentimes. Think about, you throw a bad pitch and then an umpire then you throw another one and then you throw another one and then you throw another one and then the bases are loaded and you just can't get out of the one bad thing that happens. Okay. This is called spiraling, is where you can't flip or change your rhythm or your mindset to get back into a positive state where you're able to then go and attack and be the aggressive pitcher that got you there with your rhythm and timing in the first couple innings. Okay. So spiraling is often caused by one bad thing happening and then it jolts you. Okay. It jolts you. And then another thing happens and another thing and another thing. And eventually you're spiraling out of control. Okay. I had this happen to me quite a bit when I was in college. I was a spiraler. I would be rocking and rolling, throwing strikeouts, our team would be doing really well. And then eventually someone would get a big hit. Let's say it was a home run. And then I would struggle for the rest of that entire inning. Okay. So you have to figure out how to switch back after that jolt. So this is called spiraling. This is your troubleshooting stuff. The next one would be not breathing. Okay. This is when we start to rush. We rush everything. We are normally at a steady pace. And all of a sudden you're talking like this because you're really excited and you're nervous and you want to do really well. Okay. You're not breathing during that point. And when we don't breathe, we get tense and we start to rush everything. When we rush and we get out of our steady pace as an athlete, whether we're a pitcher, a catcher, a hitter, it doesn't really matter. When we start to rush, we don't breathe. And when we don't breathe, that's when we get tense. And all of a sudden we try to play softball like we're robots. Okay. So not breathing can be a huge issue for the mental game. The next one. Okay. Teammates' emotions. Okay. Now this one is tough. This one is tough because we are a sport that loves cheers. We are a sport that loves to get excited for our teammates. We're a sport that, bounces off the walls and hypes up our team for walks and big hits and big strikeouts and all of that. But at the same time, you have to be aware of what your emotions are. So if your teammates' emotions are high, really high, or really low, and how they might be affecting you. So for example, as a pitcher, if you're in a really tight game, and I learned this the really hard way. If I'm in a really tight game, it's 0-0, and then my teammate hits a home run and everyone's cheering and going crazy and right? And then there's 2 outs, and then the next girl ends up striking out, right? And then I have to go back to the mound to then get us to win the game. A lot of times my emotional level just skyrocketed, right? I got really excited. I'm on this big high. And then now I've lost my focus and my emotional level isn't even anymore or at the place it needs to be to throw a great inning or throw 3 outs or good pitches to get those outs, right? So I would then give up hits because I was allowing my teammates' excitement and emotions to then affect my individual play. Okay, when what my team really needed from me was to be level-headed, both emotionally up here and in here, so that I could then close the door, right? And get us the win after the big hit. So knowing how much you can celebrate or how little to celebrate is going to be important based on what your teammates' emotions are. The same when your teammate might be experiencing failure, and how a lot of times we as women, we want to console, right? Like, it's okay, you'll get the next one, you can do it, no big deal. But if that starts to take away from your energy for what and your focus for what you need to do, that starts to affect the team, right? So troubleshooting, that can be an issue of just feeling your teammates' emotions too much. The next one is just, of course, all of us experience just your own thoughts, right? So your own thoughts of what they may be, positive, negative, not even thinking about softball, but just allowing things to come into mind. And this can be anything, right? So a lot of times we experience our own thoughts because something triggers us. Maybe we hear something random from the other dugout. Maybe we hear something random from a parent in the stands. And then all of a sudden our brain keeps talking about that. So that can be a troubleshooting thing. And we finding ways to block those thoughts out when we hear them, or just smash them down and eliminate them. Okay, next troubleshooting one is obviously failure. I want to talk about this just a little bit because failure is often talked about for hitters, right? And they'll say hitters fail, 3 out of 10 times, and you're hitting 300, and that's a great batting average, right? But in pitching, it's not that way, okay? Like, pitchers are expected to get 3 outs every inning. We're expected to not give up a lot of runs. So we experience failure a little bit differently because we don't experience it necessarily as often, but our failures are bigger, right? Pitchers' failures they hold more weight, okay? They hold more value. That's not even a good thing. Pitchers' failures hold more weight because at the end of the day, at the end of the game, it doesn't say, and you could pitch a great game and still lose, right? But it doesn't say, shortstop, loss. It says losing pitcher. That's what the stat line says. It says losing pitcher, Monica Abbott, winning pitcher, so-so, Harper. Okay. So it doesn't say, shortstop lost the game or right field lost the game. Okay. It was the pitcher. So we experience failure a lot differently than, say, an offensive player would experience failure. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that as well. And then, of course, negativity, which of course is always something that we got to talk about because we got to find ways to figure out how can we have better positive self-talk, not only as women, but also as athletes, and not play the compare game. The compare game is not fun. I've done it a ton and it is not fun. It's not fun to compare. And just being able to lift up our own strengths and weaknesses and use them to the best of our advantages. Okay, so troubleshooting, these are all different topics that we're going to go over and things that you may or may not have experienced in the mental game. Spiraling, not breathing, teammates' emotions, your own thoughts that might creep in, failure, and then, of course, just negativity. All right, so let's talk about how to do it. Okay, what are we going to do for how do we combat these things? Okay, so now's the fun part. Let's talk about some things that will help us be more successful. Okay, the first thing, it makes the most sense for me to lead off with this, is routine. Okay, what kind of routine do you have as a pitcher and as an athlete? Okay, and a routine is something that you should be doing every time. Okay, so it can't just be you only do it in the game. You can have different ones. So like you can see on this side, you can have an in-game routine and a practice routine. Okay, so I'm going to go over mine a little bit. I'm going to show you guys a couple different options for you, but I also have an intense situation routine. This could be something where the bases are loaded and you need to take your game to the next level, right? And then we have a reset routine. This is probably if you take anything away from this virtual session, this would be the thing that I say you need to take away the most, the reset routine. Most of you probably have a routine, whether you know it or not, but you need a reset routine. And the reset routine can be so powerful when things go bad, okay? When you're in that failure mindset, when negativity is creeping in, when you're starting to spiral. And that's when I developed the reset routine. So let's go over it just a bit, okay? And I'm going to show you, just bear with me here. I'm going to link up my camera. Okay. All right. So you guys can see here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay. All right. Now we're good. Okay. So we're going to talk about the routine. Okay. So if you've ever watched me pitch, you would know, like, I normally catch the ball and then I would just walk around the outside of the corner, outside of this circle, and I'd come back here and I would kind of brush off the mound, throw my ball in the glove, and then I take a deep breath and then go into my pitch. Okay. That was my normal everyday routine in the game. That was my every pitch routine. Okay. Between every game. And that's what you need. You need something consistent, not only in how fast you walk, right? Okay. And something consistent here, something that gives you a chance to focus, and something that gives you a chance to breathe, right? Okay. Something, and it has to be consistent every time. This is the routine that's going to help you be successful no matter what's happening with the umpire, no matter what kind of negative thoughts are coming in, or what you're hearing from your teammates' emotions and everything, okay? Now, what is interesting is when I had my reset routine, okay, when I had the reset routine, I would do the same thing. Something goes bad, I would actually go to the top of the circle, look towards my right fielder, and I'm going to look towards you guys for a good reference. And I would just kind of be like, oh, stomp my feet a little bit, pound my toe, just breathe. Gosh darn it, Monica. That was my moment. Gosh darn it, Monica, you got to be better. Throw a good pitch. You can do this. You can do this. So I would go here, take a few moments behind, and then once I turned around, back to my everyday pitching routine. Okay, then that would be my trigger to say, like, hey, here's your moment to recognize something didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and then coming back to it and being like, okay, now it's time to get back to your routine, back to everything that you need. Now that reset routine is so powerful because it triggers you, right? It can trigger you to get back into your everyday routine. And if you don't trigger yourself, that's when you start to get out of control and you can spiral down and multiple bad things can happen. Okay. Now, when we talk about a reset routine, it's super important that you don't do this reset routine every time something happens, okay? Okay, you threw 3 balls, okay? Do you need to do your reset routine? No, okay? Okay, you walked one person, you gave up 1 hit. Do you necessarily need to do your reset routine? No, okay? You gave up a double, you gave up 2 doubles in a row. Maybe you should do your reset routine to get yourself back on track, okay? So you have to know, compared to you in your game, when do you need a reset routine and when do you not, okay? Because you don't want to use it too much that it's overused, but you want to use it enough that it still holds power for you, okay? It still holds that trigger for you to reset your mind and get you back to where you want to be on the game, okay? Super important, a reset routine, okay? I'm going to get us back to the slideshow, but so bear with me here as we switch over. And then, okay. All right. Now we're back. Okay, so routine, that's what I'm talking about right there. Just being able to have both an in-game routine and knowing what it is and having it be consistent each time, but then also being able to have that reset routine, okay? If you're someone that finds yourself in intense situations a lot, you can also have something just for that. Like, let's say the bases are loaded, or it's 0-0 in the 8th, a runner on second base, like those sort of really intense situations, you can have something like that. I recommend it be something short, something like really quick. It could be like a brush of your shoulder, fixing your jersey. It could be like just touching your visor, just something short that you can do quickly in between pitches, or in between, yeah, and basically in between pitches, no matter what position you play or where you're at on the field. Okay, I forgot to press play on this. Okay, so that's on routine. All right, next one is actions. Okay, so you have your routine, but how do you make your routine even better? How do you take it to the next level, right? So this is where power words come into play. Okay, power words are things like 1 pitch at a time. Here we go, Mon. I would tell myself, here we go, Mon. I would call myself Monty Mon. I know it's a little weird, but it got me pumped up. So I used to call myself, here we go, Monty Mon. You got this. And I would tell myself in that position right there, in this low position, the Olympic Games, runner on first and second. I'm like, here we go, Monty Mon. You got this. I would just tell myself that over and over. But it's something that got me, raised my adrenaline level, got me more pumped up, and also focused me, right? Like, you need that extra focus. So a power word can be something like that. And you can also add your name into it, right? So if you add your name or your nickname or something that is a warm feeling, notice that I didn't say Monica. Okay, my family calls me Monty. So like, to me, that was a very like warm feeling. Okay, my family calls me Monty. So like, that's going to be a way that I can use it. So a power word, 1 pitch at a time. You got this. Breathe. Okay, see the target, stuff like that. Those are things that you can use at any time and tell them to yourself. Okay, make sure that they're short phrases, because you got to be able to use them quickly, right? That they're positive in nature. Okay, you don't want to say, like, for example, obviously I'm using pitching here. You don't want to be out there and be like, okay, Monica, don't slouch in your K position. Don't cup your hand, okay, on your finish. Don't follow, you want it to be positive in nature, okay? So you want to say something like, okay, stay nice and tall, Mon, you got this. Okay, have a good follow through is going to get them. Here we go, Mon. Something like that. So this short phrases, positive in nature with an action, okay? And action is key, because when we tell our brain an action, your brain wants to execute it, right? Okay, and then they're going to immediately want to try to execute that action that you say. So how do you use it? Short phrases. When to use it? I would say while you're walking between pitches, in between pitches while you're waiting to hit, or when you're standing on the mound. You could even say it in your slow set like I used to do. Okay. And then anytime the next thing that I would say is anytime a negative thought comes in, just like pops into your mind, because I know it happens all the time, right? A negative thought like, hey, this girl might get a hit. She's really big. Like she's doing really good. Another one would be, I don't want a home run to come up, like stuff like that. Anytime those come up, immediately cut your thought off and replace it with your power word. Okay. So this would be your brain talking right now. And it would be like, oh my gosh, this girl's really good. I hope she doesn't. All right, Mon, you got this. Just follow through really good. Here we go. So cutting off that negativity and replacing it immediately with that positive action word can be a huge game changer for you. Okay, next up. All right, so the next one is just a little bit about focus, okay? So focus is something that is really hard to do for a long period of time, okay? And a game is 7 innings. It can be 2 hours. It can be 3 hours, right? So, and sometimes you're on defense for a long period of time, but we have to have the ability as an athlete to both focus and unfocus, okay? So it's okay to laugh, have a little fun on the field, play loose like that, but then being able to then zone back in and focus on the pitch that happens. The next thing that I would talk to you about is just having a focus point, okay? Remember when I was doing my routine, I would look to the right field wall, the right field foul pole, and that would be my focus point. I could stare out at the foul pole, give myself a deep breath, talk to myself for a second, and then turn it around. So having a focus point can be huge, and it can be anything. It can be a sign on the outfield wall. It can be, your teammates' cleats. It can be first base. It can be something like that, but something to kind of give yourself something to look at that isn't necessarily the catcher's glove or the ball, something outside that you wouldn't normally look at on the softball field on a regular basis. So find a focus point to give yourself a chance to refocus yourself. Okay. The next one is just on your vision, having a wide focus versus a narrow focus. Okay. Same thing. And this is especially targeted for my younger pitchers out there. And this is talking about, it's hard to stare at a glove for a really long time in your pitching motion. You have to be able to look away and then zone back in. Okay. So when we first pick up our catcher's glove, we want to have a wide focus of home plate, the hitter, the umpire, the batter's box, everything. And then we want to come back in our K position, right? In our K position, and we want to zone in just on like not only the glove, but we want to zone in on the pocket, right? We want to zone in on the pocket where the catcher is going to catch the ball. Like doing that makes a huge difference. Okay. So knowing when to have a wide focus versus a narrow focus. And then the last one, and this is just the whole buddy system philosophy, is having a partner or a teammate help you focus or zone in. If this is something you can struggle with, you can make eye contact with them. That's a great way to find a way to use your focus well. Okay. All right. Next up. Okay. Communication is another great strategy for troubleshooting. How to speak to your teammates, how to speak to your coaches, and how to speak to your catcher or your bestie. I think in the moment when things are going bad, we often become reactionary and we say things that maybe we wish we hadn't said, or we say it with too much emotion. Okay. And when we're in a bad situation or where our mental game struggled, that's when we become very narrow and we only see one thing that happened instead of having a big perspective. So I challenge you guys to talk to your teammates and talk to your coaches on things that help you or things that don't. Let them know if you're going to use power words. Let them know if you're working on a reset routine. Let your catcher know those things so she's not thinking something weird is happening. Okay? Let her know, like, I'm working on a reset routine. I'm working on these power words. let your coaches know, communicate with them so then they can help you do those things successfully, okay? Because they're watching you, right? So, and then you can also tell them, know what you need or don't need. So maybe you need them to give more actions and less like overall stuff. Hey, just tell me I need to follow through more, coach. Or hey, catcher, like you're doing really good, but can you show me, I'm trying to really look at the pocket of the glove, I'm really trying to look at the pocket of the glove. Can you try to show that a little bit more to me? Okay. So just know that communicating some of the things that you're working on in your mental game is going to help you develop that routine for your mental game better. Okay. All right. So next, this is where we got to talk about our feels. Okay. And this is important because we're all, we're softball players. We're softball players. We feel things, okay? We feel things. And I just want to tell you, as a professional and someone that's been there and done that, it's okay, okay? It's okay to feel your feels. It's okay that if you need to cry, it's okay if you need to be upset. It's okay if you need to yell, okay? Do not suppress your emotions. Emotions are important because they show how much you care about the game, how much you care about your teammates' success, how much you care about making your family and friends and coaches proud. And it shows how much you're dedicated and invested in being successful. It's okay to feel your feels, okay? So show your emotion. But when we talk about emotion and the things that aren't going well, I want you guys to think about the emotion, your negative emotions, okay? And I want you to challenge yourselves to give yourself a set amount of time. Okay. Give yourself a set amount of time to be upset about it, to be down or disappointed, to be depressed about it, to be just like, oh, that sucked. That was the worst. Give yourself a set amount of time. It can be till you get home after the car ride. It can be until the next morning. It can be for 15 minutes after the game. You can be upset. But we need to be able to look outside of that moment that upset us to be able to actually really grow. Okay. And that's why it's important to give yourself a set amount of time to be down or to be really up and positive about the game, because otherwise we don't have that perspective that will help us grow. Okay. So find a way to set an amount of time so that you can reset on all the things that you want to do. Okay. And that, once you have that perspective, that's when you can start thinking about like, well, I didn't do well because I was doing really good. And then I spiraled because this one girl got a hit and then the umpire didn't get a strike. And then my teammate made an error and then I made an error. And then it was just one thing after another. Where could I have changed that? If you give yourself a set amount of time, that's when you can be like, okay, well, I didn't do my reset routine. And I think I didn't breathe. I could have used my power words and I didn't even do any of that. Okay. So if you look at it that way and you give yourself a set amount of time to feel your emotions, to feel the things that are really exciting, they're really, hurting because they didn't go well, then it will give you amount of time to then after that, give you a wide view of perspective, and you can talk about those things on what you can maybe do the next time. Okay. And that's a great trick, just a mental reset trick for you. Okay. I also have on here, just for any parents that are listening, respect the car ride either way. This piece right here is just for my parents that might be on here. No matter what, when you step into the car, your daughter is going to want to talk to you, right? Or maybe she doesn't. But I think either way, no matter what's happened in the game, it's going to be important for you to not be on the proactive and let her come to you with the conversation when she's ready. Okay, on the highs or the lows. Check in on her, help her go, but do not push. Do not push her until she's ready. I think when we start to push, that's when a car ride can make the situation 10 times worse. Okay. So allow her to have her feelings, and you can even share your feelings. Like and she doesn't have to talk. Let her say, you could tell you like, hey, like you were doing so good, and gosh, I really thought you had it right there. I can't wait to work with you this week, or I can't wait to, we're going to get you a lesson, or whatever it is. But just respect the car ride either way. And the fact that the emotions and feeling those emotions are important as a parent, okay? Or as a coach. All right, so moving on. All right, the next one, visualization. Okay, I got to tell you what, you guys, I never really visualized too much, but before the 2008 Olympic Games, I became really big on visualizing, and I pitched incredible in that game. And I think part of it was due to visualization. Okay, so let's talk about it. I know you all have heard about it before, but visualization. So one thing that I really like to do is I like to visualize the night before. And I would often do this, honestly, right before I went to bed. Okay. Before I said my prayers, or, and turned off the light, I would just lay in bed and I would visualize, sometimes with my eyes open, sometimes with my eyes closed. And I would start to think about the game. Okay. When you visualize on, and this would be a longer visualization. And when you visualize the game, okay, and you want to think about details. Okay, so you guys go ahead. I'm going to take you through one really quickly. Go ahead, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. It's February 29th. You just got out of school. It's sunny today. Can you feel the sun on your face? You're lacing up your cleats. You pull out your glove. Whew, the smell of leather. Isn't it great? You're warming up and it's starting to get sweaty. You're ready for the game, and you run out to the field. 5 pitches to warm up. The gloves popping, and your catcher makes a good throw down to second base. It's game day. You take a deep breath, you stand on the mound, and you fire it in there. Strike one. All right, you guys, open your eyes. This is how you can do a visualization, and you can kind of tell yourself a story of the game happening and the way it's going to happen. Okay. And you can do it for as long as you want, but the key, you can do it for an inning. You can set yourself up for big strikeouts. Okay. You can watch your teammate field a ground ball at second base, or catch the game-winning pop fly in the outfield, all of those things. But when you do a longer visualization, it's really important for you to take your time in it, number one. Number two is, it's not just about what you're seeing when you close your eyes and visualizing. It's also about what you would hear, right? What you would smell, okay? What you actually see, okay? Does that make sense? So you want to be able to hear, you want to start to practice and see it in your mind's eye on what the game would actually feel like, okay? Would you feel nervous on the mound? Okay, tell yourself you feel nervous, write that story, and write that story of you being successful. And that would be a longer visualization, okay? Okay, so, and I have done this quite a bit, and I am a big fan of it. I think it really does help a lot. It actually, honestly, you guys, it helped me a lot with my nerves. I was a very nervous pitcher, and it helped me really help my nerves. Okay, the next time to visualize is maybe pregame or in between innings or an at-bat. This is where you can go quickly and you can just close your eyes. And when you're pitching in practice or you're hitting in practice and you throw a really great pitch and you're like, wow, that felt good, right? So when you have that moment, I want you to try to remember that moment. And then we're going to try to bring that pitch. We're going to try to bring that moment back right before we go out to the game. Okay. Before an inning or an at bat. And that's when you're gonna stand. I used to do it sitting in the dugout with 2 outs, be like, okay, that's the pitch I want to remember. And then I would go out to the field and literally try to throw that pitch. And it's awesome. So think about in your practices, the good pitches that you throw, the good hits you do, the good plays you make, and then try to remember what it feels like, not only physically, right, but also up here and in here, right? And then when we're sitting in the dugout with 2 outs, then we go out and we take that quick deep breath. Oh yeah, I remember what that rise ball felt like. That felt good. I remember when I popped that corner and hit, you know, and it felt so loose and relaxed and it felt like nothing. Okay, it felt perfect. Okay, and then take that feeling to the field. Okay, and that's how you would do a quick visualization before you go onto the field or a game. Okay, so the visualization can be really, really powerful. It's awesome. It's an awesome way to see yourself being successful in different aspects of the game. All right, so then this is like recovery, and I talked about this and I wanted to add this in based on like when things go bad or when things aren't where we want them to be. Okay, how do I have a recovery thing? So I think the big thing is finding a way to mentally separate yourself from the game. Okay, and then but also emotionally leaving it on the field or having something physical. Okay, so is it putting your bat bag away at home? Okay, is it taking a shower because you're washing? It's like symbolic, right? You're washing the game off of you, the softball dirt off of you. You know, having something physical, having something mental, having something emotionally, that's an action item, and something physical post game that you can think about, like, hey, I'm putting my stuff away and I'm going to put my ball bag, you know, in my mom's car or in, you know, in the cupboard, wherever it belongs. Okay, in the garage, you know, those sort of things. Some sort of physical action is going to help you recover mentally faster on those highs and lows of the day. Okay, the next one would just be the emotional piece or the mental piece. Like I said, I always like the symbolic piece of like taking a shower after the game. You're washing the game off of you. You're washing what you did or what happened so that you can move on and feel clean or new and refreshed. Okay, so those are just some tricks on just recovering after a tough mental game. Okay, all right, so we are on the questions and answers, and I'll stop screen sharing here in a minute, but the next one, so that's everything on all of that. Just, and then next pitching practice plans is March 26th at 5 p.m. Okay, so if you're wondering on things to practice and when and all of that, then this will help you how, when, and how much, what to do. Okay, where'd you guys go? All right, so at this time, what we'll do is we will do questions and answers if anyone has any. Otherwise, we'll call it a night. But you guys, if I had to review on the things that made me the most successful on my mental game, because I did struggle a lot with it, especially in college, and even high school as well. In high school, I was an emotional person. I really felt the feels, right? Like I was that kid that when things went bad, I would like stomp to the car, like walk really fast, like I'm so upset. Okay, that's what I did. And my poor parents, they're like, she's upset, she didn't do well, she failed or whatever. And then when I would win, I would be really happy and excited. But when things didn't go well, I didn't know how to deal with it, and I had to figure that out so that I could turn after that be better. So in high school and my younger ages, I would say just understanding that it's okay to feel your emotions, but also understanding that you don't carry it for so long. Okay, it's too heavy. It is too heavy to carry. Okay, drop it off after about 15 minutes, an hour. Okay, and move on so that you can be better the next day. Okay, and then the next one in college, I really struggled with the spiral. Like one thing went bad, and then all of a sudden, a lot of things went bad, and you had to find your way. I had to find my way into a reset routine. Okay. And when I added that reset routine, I went from like losing games that should have been 1-0, or that a 1-0 game because I gave up a home run or something that turned into 5-0, where I went on, gave up a home run, to winning the game 3-1. Okay. That's how powerful a mindset can be. And then of course the visualization piece was huge for me as well. And I still do it to this day whenever I feel nervous before a speech or anything like that. So just knowing what you're saying, and then power words, anytime, any place, are always good. On the mound, in the dugout, just giving you that extra boost of confidence so you can get out of a negative mindset would be huge. So those are my kind of main strategies for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this class. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Harper, you got to take yourself off mute.
There you go.
Okay, so how do I prepare for a wet, rainy game?
A wet, rainy game. Okay, so I think the biggest thing on a wet, rainy game. Okay, I got my glove here. So the first thing that I would say is if you can get rosin or a towel, that would be good. Okay, right? Because that'll help you. But I think what I've noticed a lot of people do, and hopefully you can see me. Okay, so people will go in their pitching motion, right? And then they'll be like here. Okay, so see how the ball, they'll be like here in their pitching motion, but the ball or their glove will be open and they'll be walking like this. But isn't the rain getting on the ball?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're walking, after you catch the ball, think about just having your glove down, so then your hand can stay dry, okay? And the ball can stay dry.
Your raincoat for your hand.
You're not in a pitching motion where you're like, you know, this, and there's rain getting on the ball, okay? So keep the ball covered at all times, okay? So that's tip number one. Number two, use a towel, but a towel or a rosin bag, okay? And you can put it in your pants pocket instead of letting it hang out of your pants pocket, okay? Get a smaller towel so that it's in your pants pocket, and it's gonna dry your hand faster. Because if it's hanging out of your pants pocket, I don't know why these college kids are doing this, and it's raining, is the towel getting wet? Yeah, right? Like the towel's getting wet. So put it in your pants pocket, and you could just put your hand in your pocket to dry off your hand, okay? Or you could also take the towel out and then dry off your hand because the towel's so dry. Okay, so that's the next tip. And then lastly, as a pitcher, Harper, which I know you are, spread out your fingers on the softball a little bit more, and that'll help you have a better grip, okay? Try to spread out your fingers a little more. All right. What else? Anything else, you guys? Did that answer your question? Yes, perfect, good. All right, with that being said, then I think we're good. You guys, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night.
Hey, we've got one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So how would you recommend like mentally resetting after an injury that's not like that bad? Because, you know, like getting hit by a ball, or like Harper had a collision at home plate, and that kind of really just shook her up more than it injured her. And so they ended up having to pull her because she was just so shook up.
Yeah. I think especially injuries, like they're tough because you have to, like, I always say this, you have to get back on the horse, right? Like you have to get back out there. It's okay to come out of a game or an inning or whatever it is to just like calm down, get your nerves or whatever, but then you got to get back out and try it again. In this case, probably sliding. So I would recommend, like, okay, Harper, let's say you didn't have a game the next day or whatever, like, let's say on Tuesday's practice, when you come to practice again, like, let's get you sliding at home. Okay, let's get a couple practices of you just practicing your sliding at home, because it gets you back into that rhythm. The worst thing that we can do is let it linger for a long period of time, and then it becomes like a bigger issue than it should on something like that. I also don't, like, it's okay to be shooken up. It's just like the feelings thing. Like, it's okay to like be a little like wide-eyed, you know. There's plenty of times where I've hit, like, there was this one time, let me tell you this story. There was this one time I hit this batter in like her ear right here. Okay. Like in her helmet, the helmet cracked and like she dropped like a fly right away. And I was like terrified of pitching inside for probably weeks because I thought I was going to hit the batter again and like damage her. Like, right. Like, I don't want to hit someone. But as a pitcher, you have to throw inside, right? So I did the bad thing of just like letting it linger, and we kind of went around it. So when I did finally start pitching inside again, I started to hit more people. Okay. So the biggest mistake I made was not going back inside right away, and sticking to the outside. So I do think, like, give the time to like calm down, collect yourself mentally and physically, and then jump back on the horse the best you can at the next practice to practice the skill that you struggled with. Yeah. Any other questions? Good. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming on again. Next month, let's see, it's April, what is it? March 26th. March 26th is going to be on pitchers practice plans. And this recording, if you purchase the recording, will be available to you no later than Thursday evening. Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.